Good morning, and thank you for joining with me this morning. I was hearing of a fellow who said that when he went to primary school, he was told if he wanted to get a good job, he would have to go to high school, which he did. When he went to high school, he was told if he wanted to get a good job, he would have to go to university, which he did. Went to university and was told, though he was sitting for a bachelor's degree, he would really need a master's degree to get a good job. And of course, eventually, they said, you would really need a doctorate. So he got all of these things, and he went looking for a job. And he was told they were looking for a younger man. Having the right credentials is important, isn't it? We need to acknowledge that people without the proper credentials do untold harm. There's a young fellow who once told the parents of his girlfriend he was a pilot, and he offered to give them a flight. And without any further verification, the family boarded the plane left the ground, flew 30 feet, and then crashed. The boy had no authority to fly at all. Credentials are society's way of protecting ourselves from charlatans and fakers. You may remember the story of a famous actress of a bygone era. She was on a transatlantic ocean trip, and she noticed a guy sitting at the next table who was suffering from a bad cold. And she said to him, "Are you uncomfortable?" The man nodded. She says, "I'll tell you what to do for it." She said, "Go back to your stateroom, drink plenty of orange juice, take a couple of aspirins, put the blankets on, sweat it out. I know what I'm talking about." And she mentioned her name. She was a famous actress, as I say, from Hollywood. The man smiled sweetly and introduced himself in return. He said, "Thank you very much. I'm Dr. Mayo from the Mayo Clinic," famous place. Credentials protect us, as I say, from charlatans and incompetents. We want to know our pilot is licensed, our doctor, our lawyer, our accountant, our builder, our plumber. Credentials are important. The Apostle Paul was continually having to establish his credentials. Now, it seemed daft because more than anybody else, Paul was responsible for the spread of Christianity through the known world of the time. And you know his history. How he persecuted those early Christians, how he met Jesus on the road to Damascus, and his life was changed, and he became a great missionary for the Christian church. Much of our New Testament, in fact, indeed most of our theology, comes from the letters that he wrote to these young churches, church at Rome and Corinth and Ephesus and so on. Surely it was not necessary for him to establish continually his credentials, but he did. And that's why he began his letter to the Corinthians saying, "Paul, called to be an apostle of Christ Jesus by the will of God." What were his credentials? What gave him authority to speak for Jesus? Well, I think the first was his calling. He begins his letter by telling them that he is called. Many of us want to believe that there's more to life than our jobs, that we have a calling. It could be a call to love our family, to be a great dad, to be a great mum, to be a great grandparent. The call could be to serve our community. The call could be to serve our church. Calling is important. And so that's the first credential that Paul laid in the line, was his calling. In a sense, we're all called. I hope you've found yours. Listen in next week and I'll tell you the rest. But thanks for watching.